Welcome to the Healing Bitch podcast. I'm Jackie Ortez, a psychic medium that has a penchant for all things spiritual. During this time with me, we will explore the world of energy and how it affects us all. Each podcast will address a question submitted from my listeners that I feel I have the authority to answer. So get comfy, throw on your headphones, and let's see what happens. It's so funny because, like, while you talk about all the stuff you do, I'm like, I feel what I do is so simplistic in comparison. But it's also, that's the side of me. I should maybe talk about this, like, during it. Like, that's the side of me that is like, I still kind of have that sometimes. Like, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Have I learned enough? Should I keep going with my education? Should I be learning more? Like, there's always that push and pull with me. But I've always been such a simplistic person with my approach to life for the most part. So it's kind of like, well, maybe I'm supposed to be simplistic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's people that are sign up for certain things that they're supposed to sign up for. So like let's talk about the mutual client that we were talking about before we came here. Okay, so that individual.
And she's definitely going to be listening.
Yeah, she will. She, so strongly when I was in session with her, she's not going to probably ever do the kind of work that I'm doing. Yeah. It's more basic 101 stuff she's going to be teaching people eventually. That's what Spirit is telling me. That is what her contract was. Whether or not she does it, I don't know. But I think, or chooses to do it because we have free will in it too.
Yes.
So she, I don't know. What I find interesting, though, is like when I go to spiritual retreats, when I go to Reiki healing, even like Bali, I sometimes actually feel I have to not speak and not dumb down because Spirit is constantly like, here's a message, here's a message, here's a message, here's a message. And it really bothers some of the spiritual teachers that I've come across because I am so connected with Spirit and then on the other, and then it kind of takes away from them. And so there are teachers who are threatened by me. And so, and I don't intend for that to happen.
No.
Spirit knows if they're giving me a message, I have to share it. I actually had a teacher one time tell me, you don't need to share your message with Spirit all the time because Spirit will eventually get the message out to whom it needs to go to.
I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. And I think this woman was just upset with the fact that I was getting the hits well before she was. And it kind of undermined her, I think she felt like. And the intent was not there for me to undermine. It was just really just genuinely sharing what Spirit, because my agreement with Spirit is Spirit's like, if you got a message, just share it. And I don't try to twist it, change it. I just literally deliver the message. I will ask Spirit questions sometimes. Like if I'm not clear on it, I'll ask clarifying questions. Like, wait a minute, I don't understand this. And like, just say it, and I'm like, oh crap. Okay. So I'll just say it. And the person will always know. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, sometimes my doubts, self-doubts creep in when I hear messages, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I really feel from so many communications with Spirit and having so many circumstances that people are going to teach and learn what they need to in their journey here on planet Earth. I feel like, for whatever reason, I have what I have. I don't understand the difference, but I genuinely don't feel it makes me better or stronger than anybody else. Because we all have a purpose here. We're all working together as one unified group of people with these abilities and talents and gifts, whatever word you want to use, to help. And you can learn them. Anyone can learn these.
Yes.
We all have the capabilities. But did you see actually, I was watching Gaia the other night about channeling.
I had to subscribe. I keep being like, but it's $15 a month.
It's so worth it.
I know. I have to. I keep seeing all the Joe Dispenza stuff, and I'm like, I need to watch it.
Joe Dispenza.
Me too.
There's a thing called channeling, and I was watching that, and I knew it would drive my husband crazy, so I binged it when he wasn't there. It's like, but what they do is they talk about channeling. It was kind of interesting that these channelers who are well known, like Bashar.
Yes.
And the woman who channels Theo. I don't even know their real names. I think Bashar is guy. I think it's Daryl who channels Bashar.
Daryl.
But I'm listening to their experience. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I experienced. That I understand what they're talking about. Like it really clicked and made sense to watch it. I felt really driven to watch it, and I forget what my point was. There was a point there. About people, maybe. Was I going
learning things? Because we were talking kind of about how learning things and you can learn anything.
I don't remember what I was getting at.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if you guys don't listen to Bashar, he's great.
Yeah, Bashar's great.
He's great. Yes, and I need to get Gaia. Gaia, please sponsor me and give me a free subscription. Well, that'll be enough.
You have Gaia. Are you listening?
I mean, in many ways, Gaia, are you listening? The channel and Gaia. But anyway, yeah, I feel also, and I don't know if this is right or it's because I've just been feeling closer to it. I feel like I need to do more mediumships, like learn more on how to channel the medium stuff.
Yeah, I think you just have, I think it's just being open. It's just being open to accept the energy. A lot of times the fears that we have block the energies. Like I had a being come to me one time, and it was a very clear vision of who the being was. And, some people listening may or may not know who these people are, but I had a reptilian come to me and asked for me to channel. And I did not want to channel the reptilian. And the reptilian, had come to me a couple times just asking and saying, like, listen, I'm good. I'm here on your side. And I did not get any maleficent type feelings off this being, but it was like, it just was, I was like, I just chose not to. And I didn't. And the being never came back. So it's, we all have choices when we do it, right?
Can you explain a little bit about the reptilians?
So for this being?
I don't know a ton either. I just know that they're like, I don't even want to say something wrong, but at the same time, I don't really care. They're part of the multi-dimensional beings.
Yes.
That are here. Some of them are they're in the war. From my understanding, they're in the galactic war with the angels and then the the angel beings. I forget what the name is, the multidimensional ones. And some of the reptilians have infiltrated basically people and their minds. But the thing is that they're not, from my understanding, is that they're controlling some of the prominent figures that are on this earth. Because they want to, I don't know, to control the humans. I know I should probably know more about this to talk, but I haven't talked to anybody about this.
So
what is Spirit saying?
So the reptilians are not all bad beings.
That makes sense.
There's some that are, so the one that came to me was not a maleficent or had any type of maleficent feelings towards humanity. And this being there's a small amount of the reptilians, my understanding, that want to help Earth because they don't believe in what their race has done or their species has done. So there are the galactic wars that are currently going on, and they are fighting to kind of keep us suppressed. Yeah. That's my generic understanding.
That's a good understanding. Instead of me being like they're controlling, but I genuinely feel like I can see certain prominent figures, like their eyes changing and their faces changing, that feel like they're under the control of the reptilians that aren't good.
It's like what was it on Instagram? There's like something that went viral where the eyes, like on the guy in the airplane, like looked like reptilian eyes or cat eyes.
Yes.
Like if people were like zooming in. I don't know. I've never had an experience of anything like that. Like with coming into contact or seeing different multidimensional beings here on planet Earth. I have communicated with the beings that live in Thelos, though. Mm-hmm. And so that's been interesting in my journeys there. And when I say that, I mean, like, I was in an alternative state of consciousness, connected with them. They came to me, and after reading the books,
I've heard of it.
Delos, and had some really cool experiences. So
I love talking about this stuff because I never get to.
I know.
And everyone thinks I'm such a fucking weirdo. When
I
they're
guess
like,
I'm a
"What
fucking
are you?"
weirdo too.
Yeah, I mean, we both are. But my friends are always like, because you can't bring stuff up like this because first of all, it freaks people out.
Oh yeah,
that aren't familiar with it, and the last thing we want to do is add more fear to people. We have enough fear coming from all different angles anyway. We don't want to add more fear to people, but it's nothing to fear. I mean, it's happening in the background, whether you're aware of it or not.
I mean, you can just go down a whole rabbit hole with it.
You can go down a whole rabbit hole.
Once you start with like the galactic wars and you get into that, and then you get into the Freemason stuff and the Egyptian stuff, and like you can just go down this rabbit hole.
And you can become obsessed with it. Yeah. And there's definitely people that have obsessed. There's probably a million podcasts about stuff like this that I should definitely listen to one after this to get my reptilian story straight, because I'm on here with like a 5-year-old knowing of it, but that's okay though. I actually don't feel like I need to know, because a part of what's happening, and again, this is my understanding from what I truly feel is happening too. A part of what's happening with humanity and our vibration needing to be in a certain place is to help fight this galactic war that's happening.
Right. And the way to freedom is going to be higher vibrational.
Yeah.
It's really getting everybody on the planet to be aware of these things, be more open to receiving and getting higher vibrational thoughts and feelings out there. And it doesn't take, my understanding is that it's not taking the entire planet has to be there. It's a majority, a certain percentage of the planet has to actually vibrate at whatever level to kind of raise our consciousness and move us out, which is why you look at some of these movements that happened in the 70s and the 60s and the hippie movement that was going on, kind of raising the vibration of the planet then. So it's pretty cool.
And then the government like not liking the hippie movement and banning all the LSD and all the stuff that was actually helping the brain, and destroying the evidence and everything.
Well, it's sad though, because I brought up Gaia to talk about this. So
sorry guys.
So Gaia,
this is how we talk in the beginning of sessions, and why my sessions take 20 hours.
So the channel, right, that I was the channeling setup, okay. So they got into and Gaia has something on like discovering Bashar, where they take the guy Daryl and they like hook him up to things. I haven't watched that yet.
God, I need to definitely do the trial starting today.
And then what they do is he goes into a channeling state and they read the things in his brain. So what they found through studying Daryl and studying people who have medium capabilities is that there's an actual active evidence, right? So it was a real scientific study that was done by, I forget the woman's name. So she does a scientific study. She takes a bunch of people who say that they're psychic and they have all these abilities, and they put them through these rigorous tests where, like, you know, they have to prove that they're really psychic and they have these abilities.
Yeah.
They take that percentage of people, and then they take their DNA, and they figure out that there is an active strand in their DNA that is not active in other people. So what they believe is that we all have this, the majority of the population has a mutated form of DNA. So the people who are in tuned and in psychic and mediums and things like that, they have what they call a wild DNA active that's not active or it's mutated in the rest of the population. And what they found was that there's a higher rate of mutation in places where there's high levels of technology. Because you don't need to be dialed in, sensing where to go to get food, or astral projecting to find out where, you know, buffalo are roaming or deer, so you can go hunting. So we've lost this because we don't use it anymore.
That makes so much sense.
Technology. So it's interesting to think how modernizing the planet, our planet has kind of gotten us away from being connected. And we talk about this with even just eating our food, right?
Yeah.
So you're not connected to the organic, natural foods. The GMOs are as a modification, and they're mutated the DNA of this food to feed us, and now we're eating mutated food. Our body's not recognizing what to do with it, getting our body sick, needing more healing. So it's just kind of like this giant snowball effect. And then now you start mutating our DNA so that we can't access this. It's kind of wild. So my point is, when it runs in families, it's because they all share this non-mutated wild DNA. So I found that super interesting. So same thing with channeling. The people who channel all have this wild
I want to go through all the tests.
I know. I was thinking
I want to see if I have I have to, but I want to see what my DNA looks like. And I've always been interested to take like psychic and medium tests. Cause there's that one place in upstate New York. I forgot what it's called, but it's this town that has all the psychics.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yes. I've never been there yet. I don't know why it's taking me so long.
Maybe we'll take a excursion there.
We should definitely take a little road trip. But like, you go there and you can study there and have tests, so you're certified.
Right.
A medium or a psychic. And that's always interested me, because going back to like me wanting to do the mediumship a little bit more, I almost like want some kind of a test, because I know I can do it. Clearly I can do it. Like, it happens and it happens more and more in opening it, but I still have that. And you know what? This goes back to what I'm releasing right now. Shit. So
I'm glad you caught it, because it was
before
coming
this
in.
podcast. Yes. And I saw it in your face. Before this podcast, we were talking about how I'm releasing outside validation from other people. And that is exactly the road my mind is going down with this whole mediumship thing.
Right.
Is that I'm like, I want to test. I want the score. I want the outside validation instead of inside. I truly do know that I could do. I mean, it's undeniable that I can do it. I can channel how people passed. Like, that's what comes up for me a lot. And I also found out that, I guess for most people that do mediumship readings, somebody said to me recently, they're like, oh, you never find out. Like, it's really hard to find out like what relative it was. And immediately, as soon as someone comes in, it's like grandfather, aunt.
It's different for everyone.
Brother.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's always been the easiest. I can tell exactly who it is. I'm not good with physical descriptions.
So, what's interesting is immediately the intuitive hit I get on that is that individual just hasn't learned how to communicate with the other side. So what, I don't even remember if the listeners remember this, but John Edwards, right? So you had John Edwards, who was on TV. I used to watch him years and years ago before I even understood I was a medium. So I was doing medium stuff, watching John Edwards, thinking that's so cool. I want to do that, without realizing I could do that. Or what I was doing was that. So it took me until I was 27 for someone to tell me, no, you're a medium. Like, I had no idea. But anyways, what happens is, for me, the way that I am able to see is, like, you'll get someone, depending on the lineage, mother side, father side, they'll come in from a different side. So someone will walk in from the right, they'll walk in from the left, and then they'll announce, or I'll get a feeling it's sister, brother, aunt, uncle, or great aunt, or, like I had someone come in for a client the other day who was a grandmother on father's side, but it was like a way distant grandmother. Like, I couldn't give the number, but I knew it was very distant. So, because I could see it come in from my left side. So it's just learning how to commune. And this again goes back to conversations with your spirit guides. If you're conversing and convening with your spirit guides on a regular basis, then you're going to get those indications and clues. They'll actually train you on how to talk to the other side. So
it's so cool.
And it's interesting. And for me, because the type of medium I am, and I realized I thought all mediums did it the same way I did it, and I realized they don't. No. I actually go to where those beings are. So if they're in the veil on the other side, I actually am there with them in a white space. Whereas, like, if there's a spirit stuck here on Earth, the way it looks is it's a completely dark shell. And it's just like, it's a shell of a building, completely dark, even if it's bright outside physically. And so that's what these spirits who choose not to cross over live in, is just complete darkness all the time. So I really hate conversing with spirits that are stuck here, because I literally see what they see and experience what they experience. So I really only like talking to people who've crossed over.
That makes sense, because that's such like an immersive experience that you're having with them. Like, I feel like spirits come to see me, like my vibration rises, but literally, like, say you're a client, right? Like, they're right there, or they're right there. But I do get the mother, father, like mother side is usually this side, father side is this side for when they come in. And then they announce themselves. I'm not there yet with getting like the actual messages for people, because that's what a lot of people look for.
Yes,
when they want medium readings.
But you know what they do? They become addicted to it, though. So I stopped doing just medium
They
readings.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
And that's why I do a lot. That's why I do psychic medium readings, because I want the reading to also be about what they need in their lives in the moment, and like that. But then also, when I give medium readings, I like embody the person's personality. I start speaking like they did, but I also get the way they passed. And if it's by their own hands, which has happened lately a lot, I've been channeling that a lot. Then like a whole darkness falls over me. It feels like a
It's like because the energy is still there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get that stuff too. But I'll see it visually. They'll show me. So like if I see someone murdered, I see the murder happen.
Oh yeah.
So it's really, it's definitely full immersive. And they will come in sometimes from the background. Like I can sense people's like an energy around somebody sometimes. Like it's like, oh, you have the energy of your grandmother around you, and they'll just be present, but they might not have a message. So it's really. It's kind of a little bit of everything. It's and I get the feelings, like, so I also get the feeling. So if the person I'm channeling the message for, like someone's grandmother, let's say, and the grandmother feels really sad, I feel really sad. I can feel how sad or how angry. They share with me those emotions, so I can explain it to the person properly. So it's definitely full immersive. It's interesting. See, it's always interesting to me how people work. It's so different from mine, and I just think it's so cool how we all just get the same message, just like they're a different way.
Exactly. There's so many times that I'm giving messages and they're like, oh, that's what the last 3 readings I got was. And I was like, well, first of all, when were those readings? You should not be getting back to back to back readings.
Well, and those are people that I call shopping for answers.
Yeah.
Because they either, in my experience, they either don't know how to properly process the information, what to do with it, or they don't like what they're hearing because it might be too challenging to change, and so they decide not to. And that's my experience.
Yeah, that's like clients that come to see you that want you to fix the problems, not realizing that they have to take the information you give them, go home, integrate it, and work on themselves.
Right.
I've had some people like that, and after like the 3rd or 4th session, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just not your person.
No.
Like you need to take time away and work on yourself.
Yep. Yeah. It's and people just don't properly do that all the time. That's why I stopped doing readings. Like just
it
readings.
makes sense.
Because the other thing too is what I have found in my practice, and what Spirit has really, and I shouldn't, this is what Spirit guided me there really, is that with Spirit is like, I'm going to tell you what the problem is, and then we're going to move the energy out of your body. Mm-hmm. And that's what Spirit wants me to do, because you can get a psychic reading for somebody. You can have someone converse with your ancestors, but there's still that trauma, that problem in your body, that stored energy. And so it still needs to move. And if you're not cognizant of how to move that energy, you need someone to kind of help you. And so that's really where, when I was doing readings and kind of first dabbling with taking clients, it was so hard because, I remember I had a woman whose son took his own life, and she really wanted to connect with him, but he didn't want to connect with her. And it just, and there were people that I did actually connect with their deceased relatives, and they kept coming back, wanting to talk over and over and over.
And it's not like a phone line.
No, it's not a phone line. So the thing is the spirit on the other side is even held back. It's been explained to me by Spirit that spirit can't move forward on their side of the table when we are so stuck here, we can't actually let them go. Mm-hmm. And when you or I were to channel for somebody or connect with their loved ones on the other side, and we're passing that message, they're like, I just told you everything I needed to tell you. Why do you need to bother me again? Like,
Yeah, that's
it's like, you got your message. I told you what you needed to know. Now kind of leave me alone, right? I love you. I care about you. I'm here for you. But I've got stuff I got to do on the other side, because they just don't hang out. They go to, I've actually been to the other side, seen it in visions, and have actually experienced that there's halls of learning, reintegration halls. You go and you experience your life, and you watch literally the butterfly effect of how your actions or inaction sprinkled out and affected people that you don't even know it affected, either positively or negatively. But you have this deep comprehension once you cross over of these events that occurred in your life. And then you really decide, hey, did I do what I needed to do when I came to Earth?
yeah.
And did I actually accomplish it? And if not, then I think I might want to go back and do it again. Or maybe this time I want to do it differently. And so that's where we self-evaluate, and we determine, did we really have the best experience to learn what we needed to learn? Because at the end of the day, we're here just to have experiences. We're all part of Mother Earth. We're all connected to Mother Earth, who's like a amazing being that is highly spiritually evolved, because any spiritual being that's circular is really highly evolved spiritual being. And we're her creation, and we're the source's connection, or creation rather, God. So, or source, or whatever you want to call it. But we're all created to have these experiences, as many experiences over and over and over again, and experience duality. And so if you got to flip the coin, sometimes you might be man, sometimes you might be a woman, sometimes you might be gay or straight or whatever it is. Every experience, you're incarnated in this life to have those experiences, which is all learning lessons.
Yeah.
And so that's where the idea of karma comes from, and having to fix karmas and things like that. Now, we come with us in this life, that pineal gland is so important, because that's the seat of our soul. That's where, if you look at all the Eastern practices of even Shiva-Murti and Hinduism and everything like that, they talk about the seat of the soul, and it is in the pineal gland, which can become calcified and ruined from the food and the things that we're doing here, and it just shuts down and we can't access it. And when we can access the pineal gland, that allows us to have these experiences and connect with who our source is within us. We're all creators, just like God is. So, because we are God, God's in us. So,
I know that was a hard concept for me to put into my brain in a way that made sense for a while.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's a big one.
It is a big one.
Your listeners are probably like, wait, what?
They're like, what are you even talking about? Well, the concept of sorry, guys. You knew what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
The concept that we are all God, like God is within us, and it's all the same. Like we're all like a piece of God.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, that was really hard. That was really hard to make sense of in my brain. And I think part of it was because of religion.
Yes, religion's hard.
Because I felt like with growing up Catholic, there was a separation of us and God. And I don't know if that was just me interpreting things wrong, but also, I'm not going to lie, even from a young kid, like anytime I would go to church, like it just would not infiltrate my brain. I remember nothing from all the years of CCD. I couldn't concentrate. And I find that happen with stuff that doesn't resonate with me. Like I couldn't, I knew the words, I would recite them, all the prayers and everything that everyone would say. I've never actually heard the words though in my head.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like I've always had such a block when it came to it.
Yeah.
And such a separation. But anyway, the point is not that. The point is, I feel like growing up Catholic made it harder for me to understand that we're all like of God and God is within us. Because there was such like a platform that God was on, and then we're just these lowly people worshiping God.
Yeah.
There wasn't a connection. There wasn't like a give and take and give and take and give and take.
Well, they wanted that because it creates difference. When you have a creation of separation, then you're lost and you live in fear. So separation is just fear.
Yeah.
So when you have it, you can't help but be in fear of sinning. And sinning isn't sinning is just separation from God. And it doesn't mean that you did something bad. It, like we always think that, when we sin, there's punishment involved, but there's not. You just have errors. You just correct the errors.
Yeah.
And through, what you call the atonement of Christ, we're supposed to have our sins cleansed and healed. But atonement really is just getting closer to God by recognizing your errors and becoming more like that Christ energy of love and charity. And because love, gratitude, and charity are very, very high vibrational.
Yeah.
High vibrational. Let's try that again. So when you're in that high vibration, it feels good for you and the person receiving it. You share this energy.
Yeah.
So
makes sense to me.
I think the Arcturians want to come in.
All right. Yay. I love this. I'm so happy you guys are going to get to experience it. I'm just going to be quiet unless they directly speak to me, but...
So I'm just going to, they said not to put these on, so I'm just going to move those, and then I'm just going to connect. So just give me a second. Get comfortable here.
Yeah.
Is my mic close enough? They said it might not be. Okay. All right. Yes, hello, Jackie. How are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Yes, we are very pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting us to come and to speak and to share our information. We are very happy and honored to have us be here with you and your listeners.
Thank you for coming.
So there are some things that we would like to talk about in connection to things that you and Jessica have already discussed. We would tell you that let us speak of love. We shall start there, yes? So love is the highest vibration, as was mentioned by Jessica. And love is the opening of the heart. The heart is a portal of ways to get back to the divine and to discover who you are as a source and a creator and a divine being of light and love. For in love is all things, and there can never be darkness, for there is no such concept of darkness, for it is always love and light. And light is where you shall learn. And that is where you return. So, what we have for you is that if you want to truly learn who you are, that you connect to yourself and you connect to this space in your heart. And you sit quietly and you feel in your heart it open. It is an exercise to open your heart chakra, yes? And so when you sit there and you connect with that, you start to feel yourself open. And if you sit in these feelings, eventually will come knowing. In the knowing, you shall discover more of who you truly are. For you're simply just a being of light and love to have experiences on this planet. We think that there may be questions you might have of origins, which we are prepared to answer for you. There are, however, limitations of what we can answer, and the reason for this is because we cannot disturb the free will of the majority of the populace. So it might be harmful for those listening to perhaps hear some things that we cannot explain because it breaks their free will. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Okay, so let us answer some origin stories for you, please. Ask as you would like, for in asking you shall receive.
Can we talk about the reptilians? Because I was unsure and want to make sure I said the right thing.
Yes. So the reptilians are part of the galactic universe, as you know. We shall say alliance, but we do not like that word in English. It is not quite an alliance as it would be discovered or explained. The reptilians have always been what you might call a problematic species or race on your planet. They have sought to control your species for reasons that we cannot quite explain. And these beings like to cause confusion amongst your people and your populace. And they do live amongst you, hidden in plain sight. And there are connections to those in your governments. That is somewhat of a known thing that, as you call extraterrestrials, have communications with your government agencies. But they're not all bad, as Jessica had mentioned. There are some good, and they do work against their own kind to enable mankind and your species and planet to advance. There is somewhat of a control factor that these other species and races want to have over your people. For it is important to you to understand that Earth is unique in the universes and galaxies, for it is a place of all DNA, of all races and species across the galactics. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So, the reason for inerting control is because if one can control the Earth, they can control all the other beings. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So, the reptilians have never been friends of mankind from the beginning, when the Anunnaki were on your planet.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't have any other questions, but is there anything else that needs to be shared?
Yes, it is important for us to explain that it is important for people to understand that when you have intuition to start to learn and open, that you do so. For in kindness and compassion, you will find for your people that you will love. You are all brothers and sisters, all shared the same energies, as you are brothers and sisters with other galaxies and universes of the beings that reside in those, for we are all one and of one source. And so on your planet there is immense separation that occurs. It is to be better or different or have more financial abundance, or to have things that are more and more and more. And we will tell you that yes, these are important on your planet, for they enable you to do things, such as spend time with family and go places and have things, to acquire things. But acquiring things will never find complete happiness within those individuals. They will, of course, it will cause more frustration and jealousies. And so when you look at the Christ teachings of the sins, there is one that talks about wanting your properties that belong to your neighbor. Mm-hmm. So coveting. So when you covet things, it creates a want and a need. It is a low vibration. And so this is how the cycle of low vibrations occur on your planet. And one of the ways, we shall say, is you get into, as you call, a hamster wheel, and you turn the wheel over and over again, trying and trying to come and to turn and to make more money and to covet things and to get things and acquire things, which don't result in long-term happiness. It is only instantaneous gratification. So having things is not necessary. Things are necessary to live, like a house and heat on your planet, yes. And some of these things are necessary, but there is a want for more to acquire. And it is oftentimes we see that people on your planet just want to continuously acquire. But they don't look at within themselves to acquire peace from within. So you cannot obtain peace or happiness from an outside source. This is the law of the universe. It has to come from within. So when you sit with yourself in quietness and you connect with your heart space, as we have just explained how to do, then you shall find your peace and your happiness. It is not from an outside source. It is all from within. And that is one thing that they have mistaken quite often, is that you must find approval or validation or acquire things to prove that you have value. But you must learn to know your value of yourself. For you are made in perfection. And that perfection is because you are of God, as you say, as we say, the source. So there is no need to have these things. They are obsolete in our worlds. So we would warn you and those listening not to put fear in your heart, as we say warn, but we want you to be aware that when you are looking for outside validation, when you are looking for outside sources, for outside ways to acquire things, that you ask yourself, why? Why do you need to acquire these things? Why do you need the validation of another being on your planet when you are made perfect as it is? For perfection lies within. God cannot make imperfect beings. You are perfect as you are. And it is often forgotten on your planet because of the need to acquire in turn. And this is part of, let us say, a darkness, a veil across the earth that does not allow you to see these things clearly. But it is starting to lift, and some of the people on earth are starting to understand this to a small degree. But if one were to come to true understanding of this, you would then no longer need your physical bodies, which is also something that can be possibly scary for you to conceptualize. But we do not have physical bodies. We do not need them. We can make them if we need them, but we do not need them. And yet we still live and exist, yes?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I don't have any other questions, but thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. We will say to the people listening, we thank you for listening. We thank you for the honor to be here. We just share our message to allow you to think on this. We thank you for being open and accepting and hearing our words. We are here to help humanity, to spread the love and open your hearts so that you may accept yourself, and with all love. We thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Nice. And with that, I'm just going to... Do you, anything else you think? No.
I don't think so.
I think that's it. So thank you again for tuning into part 2 of this. And if you're interested in finding anything for Jessica Elaine, hopefully by this podcast we got that website going. But if not, you can just reach out to me at the Healing Bitch Podcast on Instagram and message me, and I will give you the information. Thank you, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.